Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. The state of Georgia is going to be granting out almost $250 million under the Coronavirus Capital Projects Fund. Be right back and we'll discuss that. Hey there, Rick Uzzi with Zquorum. So as I mentioned, the state of Georgia it says here it's going to dedicate $240 million for the new grant program to expand high-speed internet and help close the digital divide. So it says these funds will be made available through the Capital Projects Fund grant program. That was part of the ARPA, or American Rescue Plan Act. That was $10 billion that was made available that would be granted through the states, and Georgia is taking advantage of that. CPF funding will be administered and deployed by the Office of Planning and Budget through a competitive grant program beginning August 15th. That would be today. And it says details on the application process can be found here. There's a link to that, and that begins again today, August 15th. So I'll go ahead and link to this document. And then when you click that, click the link there, you'll get to this page, and there's application information. This is the notice of funding opportunity, and then there's a virtual applicant workshop. I clicked on that and it asked me, my name and did I want to attend on the browser or through Microsoft Teams or something like that. I clicked on that and it sounded like it was not yet going, which doesn't surprise me because I don't see any date here. It says it's April 15th. I shouldn't say I don't see a date, but I don't see a time. So I don't know if I was early for it. It said I was waiting for the organizer, or maybe I had missed it. I don't know. So there's no time on here for this applicant workshop. There's some information down here. There's, again, the NOFO. There's the eligible areas, which when I looked at that, there's not a lot of information here. There's just some dots on the state of Georgia map here. I could zoom in, but it's not, there's no real detail. It's just a little picture. And then I've got frequently asked questions. There's a link to that on there as well. But this is the FAQ. This is the federal FAQ for the Coronavirus Capital Projects Fund, not specifically to the state of Georgia, although a lot of the stuff would apply to the state of Georgia. But you can see in here, who's eligible, and it says the 50 states, and it talks about Treasury. So this is the federal document. But then you get to the notice of funding opportunity that's also linked here. So I was going to walk through a little bit of this. So again, this is the NOFO, August 15th. The state's final CPF grant program is subject to approval from the U.S. Department of Treasury. So they're just, that caveat's right there that this all needs to be approved through the Department of Treasury because, again, the Treasury is administrating the program nationally through the states who then subgrant this to internet service providers. It says the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget hereby notifies interested applicants of the opportunity of funds allocated for the Georgia Capital Projects Fund grant program. Capital projects must invest in capital assets designed to directly enable work, education, and health monitoring. Again, this is coming out of ARPA, so it's all related to COVID at the time. It says the CPF grant program has been designed to address the critical needs for high-speed, reliable connectivity that was highlighted by the COVID-19 pandemic. To address this need, the CPF grant program is seeking applications to provide funding for broadband infrastructure projects that reliably meet or exceed download and upload speeds of 100 megabits per second to unserved homes and businesses in Georgia. So they're looking to get symmetrical 100 megabit service as kind of the baseline service that's available. Applicants are strongly encouraged to consult and engage with impacted communities. And that's all kind of requirements that are flowing down from the federal side. They must participate in the ACP, or the Affordable Connectivity Program, and are strongly encouraged to provide at least one low-cost affordable option. So again, these are things that are very similar to the requirements on the national side. And it says here a minimum of 100 by 20, that would be the low cost. So in other words, service provider, they should participate in the ACP, and preferably a low cost option, maybe let's say $30, because they're trying to get it to where people could, people who are strapped for cash could get a broadband connection for as little as $30. And then if they are able to get the ACP, if they qualify for that, then it would really be free for them. So they're trying to make broadband affordable in addition to making it available to everybody. Funding available for the award is approximately $240 million, which may be increased or decreased at the OPB's discretion. OPB reserves the right to fund in whole or in part any, all, or none of the applications submitted in response to this NOFO. So they could come back and say, hey, none of you, we're not going to fund anybody, or they could increase the amount. They're just leaving the door wide open there. Eligible project areas, they've identified 44 preliminary eligible project areas that have been identified by the state for the program using data from the July 1, 2022 refresh of the Georgia Broadband Availability Map. It says applicants must design their submitted projects to serve all locations identified by the state in the selected eligible project area. So if a service provider says, yeah, we want to submit for here, they've got to design their bid to be able to serve all locations in that area. In selecting eligible project areas, the state considered the following criteria: the unserved nature of the county, or meaning high percentages and numbers of unserved locations currently lacking a terrestrial connection that reliably delivers minimum speeds of 25 by 3. So this is really the unserved definition as far as the federal government is concerned on the BEAD program, the Infrastructure Investment and Job Act. 25 by 3, really less than that, is considered unserved. Without funding commitments from state, federal, private, et cetera, to serve those locations. In other words, if there's already an RDOF award going there or another ARPA award, some money that's already being allocated or been allocated, then that does not qualify. Says here, economic distress factors impacting the communities. So is it a poor area, low income? Many cities and counties within the 44 eligible project areas are also broadband ready designees. So broadband ready was you could go and search that. That's basically a program Georgia had where someone could submit a form to say that that this particular area was broadband ready. So they say they've got a lot of these that are already, those project areas are considered broadband ready. Eligible applicants, really anybody that can provide broadband service. So ISPs, including cooperatives, electric co-ops, electric utilities, and other entities that build or operate broadband networks. So that could be just your traditional ISP, a municipality, anybody like that. Partnerships and consortium applications will be allowed. For example, 2 providers partnering to serve an eligible project area. That would be an example of a public-private partnership, like maybe an existing telecom or telephone company, communications company that's partnering with a county or partnering with an EMC to provide that service together, partnering with a municipality, those kinds of things. They've got some scoring criteria in here. Project design and implementation is 25%, and a project timeline is required for that. So you'd have to provide some details on that project design, and they're going to be basing their 25% of the scoring on that. Capabilities and competencies, 20%. So those two right there, 45%. They want to make sure that whoever's doing this is capable and competent. Performance measures, not sure exactly what that means, 10%. For performance measures, maybe that means, I'm not sure if that means how they'll measure the performance of the network or how they'll measure the performance of their project, not sure there. Project budget, including matching funds, so they do want to get matching funds, and they say detailed budget and matching funds must be submitted using the provided budget template. Community engagement, again, they want to make sure that whoever's submitting this has had some engagement with the community, and they would like letters of supporting that from local governments, elected officials, et cetera. And then the affordable offering, 5%, at least one low-cost affordable option, again, a minimum of 100 by 20. Scoring preferences, projects that prioritize investments in fiber optic infrastructure, so they really want to prioritize this. Again, that's also the federal level, they're trying to do that, so they want this to be fiber if at all possible, because that's the most future-proof technology that we've got available. To deliver speeds, again, of at least 100 by 100, so 100 symmetrical, the project must be designed so that it reliably meets or exceeds 100 by 20 and be scalable to a minimum of 100 by 100 if they're saying that's not practicable. So if it would not be, if it would be impracticable to do 100 symmetrical or fiber, let's say, because fiber you can pretty easily do 100 symmetrical. So if it's impractical to do 100 symmetrical, they want to make sure that the service can at least exceed 100 by 20, which would be the underserved category at the federal level. So they want to make sure they get over the underserved category that would be part of the BEAD program that's been set up. Again, it should support at least that 100 by 20, and they should include a description of the technology being proposed and a rationale for why 100 by 100 can't be reasonably met. And that could be, hey, we're on the top of a mountain, and it's there's a lot of granite here in Georgia. You've got Stone Mountain, this huge mountain that pops up as granite. So maybe, maybe there's a lot of granite, hard to get fiber. I don't know what it might be, but certainly topography could be an issue, and maybe they can only do fixed wireless, for example, but still get up to that 100 by 20, as long as you can get that kind of service. So have to describe that. Matching funds, preference will be given to the applications with higher matching funds. So they're going to be looking at applications and seeing, okay, well, these guys are going to pitch in more, so that means that money's going to go further. And that's also very similar to the scoring that's being done on a lot of the federal programs. Participation in the ACP, they must participate in the ACP, meaning that they've got to agree that they're going to provide that for those that are eligible, that $30 subsidy. Let's see, and submit participation in the Georgia Broadband Map Program, so they've got to participate in that and must submit regular network updates to make sure that those maps stay up to date. And they're going to be doing regular map updates. They're doing map updates now. All service providers are doing map updates now for the federal maps, the FCC maps. They're having to upload all of their coverage area at this time. So that's going to be a biannual process. So it looks like there's some mapping portion of that for Georgia as well. They must reach substantial completion before December 31st, 2026. So that's when they need to be substantially completing the network. And that means pretty much delivering services to end users so that the systems infrastructure is operational. Only new projects that have not started construction at the time of the release of this NOFO, so as of today, basically, anything that was already underway would not be applicable. But if somebody now looks at this and then puts their future projects together, those are eligible. Eligible project costs, there's not a lot of information here on that, but they refer you to some documents here. And then just some important timeline here. So September 6th, again, is when the window opens. October 7th, 2022, the applications are due by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll review that on October 28th, and then the final recommendations and preliminary awards will be announced in the fall of 2022, and they say that's going to be dependent upon Georgia's grant program plan being approved from the Treasury. So Georgia has got to send this plan to the Treasury while they're also collecting this information from service providers throughout the state, and that needs to be approved. So that's it. So again, Georgia is taking advantage of some of these funds that are already available. We've got a lot of money out there that's going to be a while before, because of the broadband maps, it's going to be a while before that money is released. We need to know who's unserved and underserved, but states have done their own homework and can target some of those areas with these funds that are available through these earlier federal programs like ARPA. We've got RDOF coming out. We've got, what else is there? USDA. So there's a lot of money that's still flowing out. So that's good because there's going to be a big crush of dollars coming out later. So it's good that we have this money out now so that people can be making plans and getting these projects started, especially considering, we can only do so much at once. And to try to do everything all at one time, it's going to be difficult. It's hard now because of supply chain issues and having the right kinds of trained people, those kinds of things. So we can get some of this stuff going. And then this is a good prelude to what we're going to be seeing next year with the Infrastructure Act. Thanks for joining me. I will be on Broadband Deployment News tomorrow again. No, tomorrow's Tech Tuesday. Sorry, tomorrow Tech Tuesday. I'm doing one last broadcast on our fiber diagnostics application, and the reports available on that. That would be on TrueVision. But I will see you next time for Broadband Deployment News. Thanks. Bye-bye.